High school grads are a disgrace to the company. Cut them off.
Bob, the new CEO, said, laughing and waving his hands as if shooing away a bug. Even though it was his inauguration party, he had removed my seat and told me to sit on a cardboard box. He has always been presumptuous and harassed me. I've had enough of his nonsense. I'm leaving now, I announced and left the venue. About an hour later, I received a call from Bob.
The leading shareholder is looking for you. Just come back immediately.
Imagining someone's angry face at those words, I couldn't help but smile. My name is Mike. I'm just a regular office worker in the general affairs department of a major company. I'm quite timid and often retreat when spoken to harshly.
Mike, you're not in the wrong. You should stand up for yourself more,
said my old friend from school days, Tom. He has always been on my side, always encouraging me to be confident.
I've heard good things about your work from that department.
I'm known in my department for being meticulous in my work. My colleagues are all serious and kind people, and I have friends here, so I'm truly glad I joined this company. Sometimes we go out for drinks, and I have a good rapport with them.
Hey, are you free next weekend? I found the book you wanted to read. How about reading it at my place?
Really? Oh, but I have plans with my grandma this weekend. She's busy, but she said she can make some time then.
Then let's plan for another time. Or you could come over during the week and stay over.
I felt grateful for his cheerful offer. I grew up in a relatively wealthy family. However, my parents were practical people and raised me strictly to prevent me from becoming spoiled. But they were also kind and supported whatever I wanted to do wholeheartedly.
You're a good, serious kid, so you tackle everything with earnestness.
That's why we feel like supporting you,
my parents said, patting my head. They died in an accident when I was in middle school. Since then, I was raised by my maternal grandma.
Mike, I'll be coming home late from work for a while. Will you be okay by yourself?
I'm in middle school, so I'll be fine. My grandma was a busy person and always worried about not being able to attend to me much. Still, she raised me with the same kindness and strictness as my parents. I still respect her and consider her an important part of my family.
How are things going with your girlfriend?
Things are going well. How about you?
I'm doing well, too. We're planning to have dinner together today.
I've been in a relationship for 3 years with a woman named Olivia. She has recently achieved her dream of becoming a lawyer. I met Olivia in a book club for our shared hobby.
The book you're reading. I've been interested in it too.
Yo, it's pretty interesting. A plot is unpredictable, and I always wonder what's going to happen next. I'm about to finish it. Do you want to borrow it?
Really? That'd be great. Let's have a discussion after I read it.
Our shared interest in books led to our dating.
I've always dreamed of becoming a lawyer, like the attorney who helped my mom back in the day.
Her dream was to become a lawyer. So, I supported her from behind the scenes as she focused on the bar exam. While we lived together, I did household chores, provided snacks, and we took breaks together. When she passed, we celebrated together. After completing her legal training and getting her license, Olivia finally landed a job at a law firm.
Let's get married once work settles down.
Of course. We made such promises, and I was living happily. One day, a business partner from France was scheduled to visit.
So, I'd like you to handle the translation.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Being fluent in French, I was appointed as the interpreter. I was to accompany the executive, Bob, as his interpreter. Therefore, I went to greet Bob. I look forward to working with you today.
Mike. Right. Which university did you graduate from?
I had heard that Bob was particular about academic backgrounds. There was no need to hide it, so I was going to answer honestly. I actually graduated high school in the States.
High school. We have someone with just a high school diploma in our company.
My attempt to explain was cut off by Bob's surprised reaction. No, what I meant by high school was,
Isn't there someone with a better educational background to interpret for me? They want to assign a high school grad to me.
despite trying to explain, Bob completely misunderstood and wouldn't listen to me. That's when my timidity worked against me. Intimidated by Bob's assertiveness, I found myself becoming increasingly silent. Bob, not paying any attention to me, was yelling at those around him. However, it was decided that there was no one more suitable than me, and after some persuasion from others, he reluctantly agreed to have me as the interpreter.
Just make sure you don't do anything embarrassing.
Yes, sir. Then, the client from France arrived, and Bob led the meeting. I must say, I did a perfect translation job. The French client liked me and engaged with me with a smile. I served with all my heart, trying to bring the negotiation to a contract. So, it seems we have no choice but to pass this time. However, we couldn't come to an agreement on the terms, and the deal was postponed. It was an unavoidable situation. No matter who negotiated or translated, it wouldn't have worked.
The failure of the contract is because of this low-educated interpreter.
But Bob blamed it on me being the low-educated interpreter. No matter how much the other employees explained that the numbers just didn't add up, Bob kept scolding me.
If this low-educated idiot had interpreted better, we could have had a contract. This is why high school grads are useless.
Bob's anger was intense, and no one could argue further. After a lot of yelling, Bob left with heavy footsteps.
I heard about it, Mike. You got chewed out by Bob.
Yay, well, you know.
Before complaining about others, he should be thankful you interpreted for him.
And my colleagues immediately supported me. While I appreciated it, I still felt unsettled. I knew he cared about education, but to misunderstand and go on a tirade like that, it's unsettling to have such a person as an executive. It feels like he will pick on me again. I hope this doesn't turn into a big hassle. Thinking about the future, I sighed deeply. And my bad feeling turned out to be right. From then on, Bob became harsher towards me for any reason.
Originally, he was from the General Affairs Department, so that probably makes him dislike you even more.
Being from General Affairs himself, he probably couldn't stand that someone with just a high school diploma like me was in his domain. That was the speculation of Alex, the head of the General Affairs Department. Bob started summoning me for menial tasks and tried to give me work unrelated to general affairs.
Why do we have a high school educated incompetent in our company? Especially in general affairs of all places. We don't need people like that.
And he kept pressuring, indicating there was no place for a high school educated incompetent. Alex couldn't openly defy Bob and couldn't protect me in public.
Is that from Bob?
Yes,
Then I'll assign that work to someone else. Focus on your tasks here, Mike.
however, Alex took care to distribute my workload in general affairs to others while I was burdened with Bob's tasks, to prevent me from being overworked. Thank you always.
No, don't mention it. I'm sorry, this is all I can do.
No, it's because of Bob, so it can't be helped. I was genuinely grateful for his consideration. But the harassment from Bob only escalated. Sometimes I was unjustly reprimanded, and I received pitying looks from other employees.
Mike, are you okay?
Yo, I'm fine. Alex, the general affairs manager, and everyone in the department are helping me.
I'll help as much as I can too.
I appreciate it, but aren't you busy with sales?
Well, yo.
I thanked Tom, who always looked concerned.
I'll talk to my girlfriend about it too, so you should talk to yours.
Yo, thanks. I wondered why he mentioned his girlfriend, but I nodded anyway. Talking to Olivia, my lawyer girlfriend, might indeed be a good idea. However, I thought she was too busy with her new career, but Olivia noticed something was up.
Mike, did something happen at work?
Why?
You seem lost in thought.
So, I ended up venting about work to her. Olivia listened to me seriously.
For just in case, record that guy Bob's verbal abuse.
But
It's for your own defense. In case of emergency, those recordings will protect you.
convinced by her, I started carrying a voice recorder in my pocket. I continued to receive harassment and verbal abuse from Bob.
How long does this high school incompetent plan to shamelessly stay in this company?
I'm sorry. However, thinking about the voice recorder in my pocket made me feel less pained than before. Knowing I was collecting evidence of his verbal abuse made things easier for me.
Mike, can we talk for a sec?
Sure, but Tom, who is she?
I'm Emma dating Tom.
After Bob left, Tom and his girlfriend approached me. Emma was older than us and seemed to work in administration.
I wanted to ask about Bob.
About Bob.
More precisely, about what he did to you.
We moved to a meeting room to talk. I was confused the whole time.
I understand your confusion, but please tell us.
Tom urged, so I shared the verbal abuse and harassment I faced with her.
You went through all that.
He frowned upon hearing my story. Being in a different apartment, he probably didn't know the details of the harassment. He looked a mix of worried and angry. He really is a caring and good friend.
Thank you for sharing all this with us.
She, lost in thought, greeted me politely. She's very polite. I thought to myself as I responded to her thanks. You're welcome. Emma, who are you exactly? You don't seem like just an administrative worker. She looked momentarily puzzled, but then smiled kindly.
It's a secret for now. I'll tell you everything once it's all settled.
I decided to wait and learn later if she would eventually tell me. It happened shortly after. Bob was appointed the new CEO, and I felt a sense of relief, thinking I would finally be free from his harassment. I figured he'd be too busy as CEO to bother with a regular employee like me, just a bit more patience required. I reassured myself with that thought. But my hopes were swiftly dashed. On the day of the new CEO's inauguration ceremony, Bob, the former executive, now CEO, greeted everyone in front of all the employees. I was supposed to attend the inauguration party for a certain reason. This is it, right? When I went to the seat indicated by the reception, my chair was missing. I confused and checked several times, but it was undoubtedly my seat.
Removed your seat.
Bob arrived and said that. I looked at Bob, who was smirking unpleasantly, in bewilderment. What do you mean?
I was surprised to see your name on the seating chart. How did a high school rat like you sneak into my party?
I never expected to be called a rat at a celebratory event. I was officially invited.
Bend your seat, let's see. How about this one?
Bob walked away as if he had an idea. Then came back with a cardboard box from behind a partition and placed it where my seat should be.
A cardboard chair is good enough for the bottom rung.
Bob laughed heartily. That was the last straw for me. Being a CEO doesn't give him the right to do whatever he wants. Do you think this is acceptable?
If you don't like it, leave the company. Now that I'm CEO, there's no place here for high school grads.
Bob shouted back at me as if my retort had hit a nerve. Usually, I would have remained silent, but this time I was too angry and glared back. He looked surprised for a moment, but then he sneered.
High school grads are the company's shame. Cut them off.
Bob gestured dismissively with his hands as if shooing away a bug. Something snapped inside me. I had thought that someday he would see my true value, even with the harassment, but now I didn't care anymore. I'm leaving then. Resigned, I announced and left the venue. Bob, watching me go, laughed and said,
Don't ever show your face around me again.
I left the venue and went into a random shop, where I sat alone, deep in thought. What should I do now? I don't want to work under such a CEO. At that moment, my phone rang. Looking at the time, it had been about an hour since I left the venue. The caller was Bob. Reluctantly, I answered the phone.
Come back here right now.
What are you talking about? I've cut ties with you, so I'm quitting the company. I won't return. I responded calmly to his frantic voice.
The lead shareholder is looking for you. Just come back right now.
He cut the call abruptly, ignoring my words. Such a selfish person. The leading shareholder. She's arrived. The thought of a certain person crossed my mind, and I couldn't help but laugh, imagining her probably fuming with anger. And with that person in mind, I decided to return to the venue.
What on earth is going on here?
Entering the venue, I saw a pale Bob and an elderly woman with white hair standing before him.
What have you done to Mike?
A woman with white hair was shouting furiously at Bob. This woman is my grandma, Harper, and the leading shareholder of our company. I had been invited to the party as my grandma's companion and had arrived early to check the venue. There. For some reason, Emma was standing next to my grandma. Our eyes met, and she gave me a warm smile.
Oh, Mike.
This caught Bob's attention, and he rushed over in a fluster. My grandma also noticed me, giving me a warm look before turning a stern gaze back to Bob.
I didn't know you were associated with the leading shareholder. Please, make amends with Harper.
Bob pleaded with me. Pathetic. I looked towards my approaching grandma.
Mike, what kind of treatment have you been receiving at the company?
I grimaced with a wry smile as my grandma asked angrily. She's always so imposing when angry.
Your seat had a cardboard box on it. Unbelievable.
Easy now. Let's calm down first. Listen to this. I tried to soothe my grandma while pulling out the voice recorder from my pocket. I then shared the various verbal abuses I had endured, played back from the recorder.
How long does this high school dropout plan to shamelessly stay at this company?
The abusive words echoed in the venue, silencing the room.
Harper, please consider this as well.
Then, Emma showed my grandma something on her smartphone screen. It displayed me being berated and burdened with work. When was this filmed? As I pondered quietly, Bob turned deathly pale. Meanwhile, my grandma's anger steadily rose, and reactions varied around the room.
We've been collecting testimonies about his treatment from various departments. We can present that information if needed.
Emma smiled sweetly again. Though it was the same smile as before, there was something about it that seemed to send a chill down my spine.
No, you misunderstand. I thought the job might be too challenging for a high school graduate in this company.
What are you talking about? Mike graduated from a university in France, and he skipped grades too.
My grandma countered Bob's attempt to explain. His eyes widened in shock.
France. Skipped grades. But he said he was a high school graduate.
Bob was completely flustered and turned to me for confirmation. Even if I graduated from a university in France with advanced placement, in America, they don't recognize it the same way. So, my American education level is high school, but in France, I'm a college graduate. I explained to Bob.
That's impossible.
While he was muttering, I decided to add one more thing. I also entered both my American and French educational backgrounds on my resume when I took the entrance exam for this company. I'm not sure how it was evaluated, but since I passed the exam, I believe the company has accepted my qualifications. After I added this, Bob fell silent.
It's astounding how much undercover harassment you can do to one employee.
My grandma remarked, looking at the cardboard chair placed at my seat. Her anger seemed to have subsided, replaced by a look of disbelief.
That's because I didn't know Mike was your grandson.
Even at this point, Bob was still trying to make excuses. I didn't want to be thought of as someone who got a job because of my grandma's influence. That's why I took the entrance exam quietly and passed on my own. After joining the company, I confided to the then president alone that I was the major shareholder's grandson. I had asked him to keep it quiet from everyone else. I'm not good at standing out or being in the spotlight. That was my wish. The then president respected my wishes and had kept it to himself until now.
If you had known he was my grandson, you wouldn't have acted this way. What a piece of work.
My grandma said sarcastically. At her words, he had nothing to say and just hung his head. After that, the party never really shifted to a celebratory mood for the new CEO and simply continued as a meal event. Bob left the venue alone. Accompanying my grandma, I went around finishing up greetings.
Good work, Mike.
Oh, Emma. After completing the greetings, Emmy approached me. I thank her for gathering the evidence earlier.
It's okay. Tom asked me to do it.
So, Emma, you are.
Actually, I'm related to the former president. I met Harper through my uncle, and now we're friends.
Emma smiled mischievously. It seems she is the niece of the former president. Our company doesn't have a hereditary system. It chooses the next president based on merit. She had no intention of taking over, and agreed with that principle. She had accepted Bob becoming the president as the former president stepped down. However, she heard rumors that Bob was harassing me.
At that time, Tom consulted with me about you, Mike.
She had revealed her identity only to Tom. So, he must have asked her if anything could be done about it.
That's why I started looking into things.
Is that so? Tom did?
The more I looked into it, the less I wanted him to inherit the company my uncle cared so much about.
Seeing her smile, I understood why Tom was smitten with her.
I should be going now.
Shall I walk you out?
No, it's fine. Tom is picking me up.
Are you two going on a date? She blushed and nodded. I want to see Olivia. I must fulfill my role as my grandma's companion well. With that in mind, I renewed my resolve as I watched Emma leave, hoping to return to her side as soon as possible. Eventually, Bob was removed from his position as CEO by a shareholders' resolution and stepped down. However, he was appointed as the president of a subsidiary, acknowledging that he had some capabilities. Bob seems to have had a change of heart. He no longer ridicules employees for their education and is managing the company appropriately.
Mike, I think you should claim damages for this.
I don't really care anymore.
But it's about settling the score. You suffered because of Bob. It's important for both you and him to settle this.
Following Olivia's suggestion, I decided to claim damages from Bob. He complied willingly and paid the compensation. I was honestly surprised. I thought he would resist.
Well, if it had been the old me, I definitely would have refused to pay.
Bob had completely changed, showing a more composed demeanor. Curious, I couldn't help but ask why.
In my family, academic achievements were everything. Those with lower education were considered the bottom, and only high-educated individuals had value.
His obsession with academic credentials stemmed from his family's long-standing belief in educational elitism. He mentioned having a younger brother who lives freely, following the motto, "Live doing what you love." Consequently, Bob's parents disregarded this brother.
Thanks to following the family's advice and graduating from a prestigious university, I was able to advance my career. Meanwhile, my brother continues to live freely.
Bob's family praised him, but it was solely because he achieved high academic status, as they demanded, not recognizing it as his own talent.
I knew this, but I always denied it. That denial created a fissure in me, making me constantly irritable and aggressive towards others.
However, following this incident, Bob was disowned by his family. In contrast, his brother, who successfully started his own company, was now being praised.
Seeing all this made me feel foolish.
Bob, on the brink of self-destruction, was admonished by his brother, who had refused to get involved with the family, and his wife, who continued to support him.
That's when I fully woke up. From now on, I want to start over, not for my family, but for myself, the company, and my loved ones.
I felt a newfound respect for Bob. I'm sure he'll be all right from now on.
As for the damages, I was wondering how I could make it up to you. So, your claim actually helped me.
Olivia's words impressed me internally. I continued working as usual afterward. Due to the incident with my grandma and Bob, it became known at the company that I was the major shareholder's grandson. But I am separate from my grandma. Please treat me as usual, without any special treatment. I requested my colleagues not to give me any preferential treatment. They understood my wish and interacted with me as they always had. I felt grateful to my colleagues and became even more dedicated to my work. Tom consulting Emma really helped gather a lot of evidence.
That's good to hear.
Grateful to Tom for his help, I decided to treat him to a meal as a thank you. Tom has always treated me the same, regardless of my family's wealth, which I truly appreciate.
You say that, but I'm also grateful to you.
Really? Tom and I became close in high school after he reached out to me. It all started when he approached me.
When I was about to give up in club activities, you supported me, and that made me want to try a little harder.
At that time, Tom was about to quit the club because he couldn't keep up. That's when I remembered how my parents supported me and encouraged him. Just try a little longer. As a result, he outperformed everyone else and overcame his inferiority complex.
Everyone else had given up, but you were the only one who supported me. That's why I decided to always be there for you too.
Tom said with a laugh. I was moved by his words and had to fight back tears. Quickly changing the subject to small talk to hide my emotions. Tom and I ending up at the same company was a complete coincidence. He's head over heels for Emma, and he fell even more for her after seeing her dignified presence at the party. We shared various stories and had a great time.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Olivia. Olivia was waiting at home with a smile.
You look really happy.
Do I? Maybe because I had fun.
That's good. You seem to be pondering a lot recently.
Thanks. When I thanked Olivia, she giggled and asked,
About what?
Looking at her, I felt a strong desire to protect her smile. Later, Olivia's work finally settled down. So, will you marry me?
Yes, I'd love to.
And so we decided to get married. Considering my preference to avoid the limelight, Olivia suggested a small ceremony with only family and close friends. Thank you. But are you sure it's okay?
It's fine. I'm not interested in a lavish wedding. It has to be something we both truly enjoy.
I grew to love her even more when she said that with a smile. I decided to invite my grandma, Tom, and Emma. Since Olivia only invited her family, it was a small wedding. However, it turned out to be a very warm ceremony.
Mike and Olivia, I wish you both happiness.
Actually, we're also planning to get married within the year.
That's great. They blessed us. Then I promised to sincerely celebrate their moment. Meanwhile, my grandma, seeing me in my finest, greeted Olivia with tears of joy.
Please take care of him.
Yes, I will make sure we're happy together.
I'm counting on you. Both of you have worked hard and faced many challenges, right? So I want you two to be very happy.
For my grandma, who had always watched over me, I resolved to build a happy family with Olivia. Eventually, I will inherit my grandma's fortune. But with Olivia being a lawyer, I feel very reassured. Well, that's a concern for the distant future. First, we need to have a child for my grandma to hold. For Olivia and our future family, I need to strengthen my mental resilience.
I'm rooting for you, Mike.
For my precious family, I will strive harder from now on, while ensuring I never look down on or ridicule anyone.